I think we are live. I just got done reciting I'd say a 30-second long intro, Zeta. And we weren't live when I did that. So, the title of this show, I think we're live. It still makes sense. It's still very fitting for what I bring to the table with this podcast, because I'm so technologically challenged that sometimes it's above my head as to whether I'm even online or not. I never know unless people are commenting in the comment section or posting in the comment section. So if you're out there watching, give us some love in the comments. Fill us in with some of your own insight if you got anything to add. I'm going to add a link to. Where you can click on it and you can call in and talk with me and the guest that I'm going to have on, which is Aaron Drain. He was a state placer and I want to say a one-time Tulsa national champ in high school and a one-time AAU national champ in high school. Like he was a guy that peaked in March and April, for real. Been in the Air Force since we graduated. He's supposed to be my roommate in college. He's one of my best friend from high school. But he's waiting there right now, and I'll get him in on this real quick. Another reminder, though, that for those of you tuning in, these are funded by Stars, which since September all the way until last week, I just started landscaping recently. That's been my primary source of income is Facebook Stars from these damn podcasts and stuff. So you want to see more of these, then send Facebook Stars. And if not, then I don't know, I'll just take that as a hint. All right, so Aaron Drain was a he was Minneapolis High School in Iowa. He was our first four-time state qualifier that we ever had. And he placed once, and that was fourth place at a stacked 2A 135. It was like that one. He was in a district where the state champ from the year before got fourth in the district. And Aaron had to beat him just to go to state that year. But just a crazy tough bracket he placed in. And like I said earlier, he won, I want to say, at least 2 national titles. Him and another guy from our club named Chris Johnson were just 2 guys that seemed to peak real late. But it worked out for him when it came tournament time with these nationals tournaments. All right, so then again, send stars my way if you like these things, and let's get Aaron Drain. This is my best friend from high school, and just before I get him on here, I haven't talked to him in 8 or 9 years. I think I've talked to him on the phone here and there, but it's been 8 or 9 years since I've actually talked to my old. So this is kind of a cool thing for me. I knew that he'd be good for it if I asked him last minute to come on the show. I need to hang out with him more often. Thing is he lives pretty far away. But let's get him in here. Oh, Aaron, I'm not seeing you. I just lost him. All right, so also in the comment section, let me know how everything sounds. Oh, here he is. How everything sounds, and I will try to adjust things as I go. Aaron Drain. Here, let me get this.
What's up, man?
Hey, 1 second. Hey, how's that look? Hey.
What's up?
You look more and more like your grand. What's that? Oh, great. Do you have Wi-Fi, Aaron?
Not at the moment, I don't.
Oh, not at the moment? Nope. You are coming in very, very choppy where you're at. Hey, good to see you. I was just talking how I hadn't seen you in 9, 10 years.
Yeah. What's that? Work out. Yeah. What's up, man?
Not much. How you been? Last time I talked to you was before I started working at United States Gypsum, and I was there for 8 years. 8 years out of my life, just like that. Yeah, so it's good that you didn't talk to me during that phase of my life. I was pretty miserable, but feeling great now. Yeah, I'm happy. How you doing?
Look happy.
Last time I talked
good,
to you, you were giving me a big speech on what I needed to do with myself to achieve fulfillment. Are you still doing some? Are you still? No, I'm having my brain lapse right now. What's the word? Are you still?
Yeah, man, I do that. I'm a student
Counseling?
at the moment, so I don't. Yeah, not at the moment. I'm in school right now, but once I go back to the real world, yeah, I'll start doing that again.
Cool.
If that doesn't, I know that doesn't make sense, but it really don't.
Yeah,
All I am is a student out here, so yeah.
You are cutting out bad, man.
I got kid. How's that?
It's a little better. Your sound is coming in. Okay, your sound is coming in very good, but the video's choppy, which is fine. But when it gets to a point where we can't understand what you're saying, that's when I have to ask you to like move and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah. But you look more and more like your grandpa McDowell every time I see you. I thought you always looked like your grandpa. I always thought you looked like your dad, but there's something about you. It's like you're like a blonde-haired version of your grandpa McDowell.
Yeah.
Cool. Ever hear that?
Right on, man. So how's things? No, but well, maybe I probably have. I don't know. So how's things in Iowa?
Pretty good. I've got 3 daughters, as you know, and right now the thing is trying to get a wrestling program started at Mediapolis High School, and I think your dad's going to take it.
Yeah.
So very good wrestling wise. I started doing landscaping last week. Dad and I are trying to start a business, and I wasn't able to get this thing to where I wanted to be as far as supporting my family. I had to figure something out for the off season. Otherwise, I'd lose my house, So we're trying. What I'm going to do is this pin doctor stuff will be full time during the season, and I'll do it when I have time during the off season. And got to landscape. Got to do something during the summer to supplement the income. But
yeah, man.
Yeah, oldest of 4 boys and father of 3 girls now. How the hell does that work out?
I don't know. You need some more.
I mean, we talked about this all the time when we were younger. Like we always said that we were going to get our comeuppance, and let's just hope that isn't the case. I don't know what anything would be trying to come up and get me for, but I mean,
where's Adam at?
I don't know. I'd like to hire him to work for me.
I thought he'd be on a hard time.
What's that?
So anyways, I just want to give him a hard time.
Yeah. You're cutting out again, dude. Hey, Drain, you're cutting out really bad.
How about now?
Yeah, you're cutting out. Hey, do you think we can set this up for a better time where you have like access to a laptop? Because I do have somebody that
yeah, whatever works, dude. Just text me.
All right. Sorry, I should have told you before. Laptops and computers seem to work better for this deal. Cell phones seem to work okay as long as people have like a Wi-Fi connection. But here,
sure.
Keep walking around and talking. Maybe you'll find a spot here. I'm gonna message this guy, Kirk Landon from Audubon, state champ. But all right. Hey, say something. I don't know if you're still on or not. For any of you guys watching out there, if you want to see more of these, I promise I'll get a hold on the quality stuff. But send stars my way, so I can put vegetable soup on the table.
I'm still here, man.
Sympathy points. Oh, you're still here? Yeah. Yes, you are, aren't you? That picture I brought. Did you see the picture I used for the? Did you see the picture that I used for the story to this? I want to look at that
Yeah,
real
I saw.
quick. I want to look at that real quick because something caught my eye. Let me see if I can bring it up. If I can remember how to do that. Of course I do, right? Present. Share screen. There we go. All right. Can you see that, Dring?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Here's some funny things about this picture right here. For one, you stole my hat, dude. I always wondered what happened to that Irish hat. Actually, I think I gave that to you because it fit your head better. Because I bought that and I was really proud of it and huge Notre Dame Irish fan, still am. And but thing is, I got a really big head, so like the wrong hat will just make me look, like I don't know, like just really goofy. Um, I hope you still have that hat and are taking great care of it. Is that hat was awesome. Brings me brings me right back just looking at
I
it.
have no idea where it's at.
Second, what is that in your mouth, dude?
That's the metal, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the metal. That was so freaking funny. They put that in the paper.
Well, they didn't
That
give
was
me a
the
chance.
that was the intent. There were two funny things about it. The other state qualifier was Chad Hutchinson that year, and there was another guy that got in the picture with us, which was Chris Johnson, and they put us five in the Minneapolis News article. They forgot to crop Chris out, and and you had this thing in your mouth. Fun times,
Yeah,
man.
I guess I don't remember it all that well, but yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, yeah. Can you explain to me why you have two different colors of letters
Oh
in your
yeah.
Letterman's jacket?
Well, Danville. They did my up till my sophomore year, and I had to switch schools. It's a long story, and then but
I know
while at
nothing about that.
Danville, you know nothing about that. That's right.
I didn't have to miss 4 events myself
Then,
or anything.
anyways, someday we'll do a book, right? Anyways.
Oh, I'm already working on it. Have you seen?
For wrestling.
I'm not hearing you again.
What'd you say? I didn't hear what you said.
Oh,
I said,
oh, I've already started the book. Haven't you seen me? Haven't you seen what I'm doing? It's all, hey, it's all about, all it is. This whole thing is that book we've been talking about. Who knows?
I just
probably get,
probably what?
So, where are you these days? Actually, like, are you in Arkansas?
No, I'm in Monterey, California.
California.
Yeah.
You know, when I hear the word California, the first thing that comes to my mind is that show, The OC. I don't know why. My ex-girlfriend from back in the day made me watch that show, and it ended up becoming a guilty pleasure. That show's awesome. And the theme song is California, California. I'll be thinking about The OC all night now.
Yeah. Well, I'll be leaving actually in a couple weeks.
For
Florida. I'm heading to Florida.
Florida. Dude, I've got an old roommate from Loras College that lives in Florida.
Yeah. I'll be passing through Iowa. So I'm going to come across on 80 for a couple days.
Nice. All right. For all of you guys that are tuning in out there, if you want to say something, ask something to Aaron Drain, multinational champ in high school, wrestled for the Air Force a little bit, plays fourth state. Say it in the comments, or you can call in. I'm actually going to post that link right now. Any wrestling going your way in California?
Yeah, the kids wrestle. Youth program is pretty big out here.
Oh, is it?
It was nice. Yeah, it's California wrestling, so I wouldn't, not compared to Iowa, but they do year-round, including Guinevere, all three of them. So
nice.
They have well, we only competed a little bit, and Greco and stuff, and they struggled. Everyone did a little bit. Anyway, so we kind of not trying to kill his confidence yet. And then, they have a girls team here, pretty pretty big girls team, high school team. So like, naturally for Guinevere, it worked out pretty good. And but it's all right. I mean, it's, again, not organized quite like Iowa is, but it works.
Yeah. Sorry, Drain, I've got to copy this link for somebody real quick. Your kids are actually. This is frustrating. Your kids are actually. It's almost as if they've got genetics that was. It's almost like you bred kids just for wrestling with given their heredity, their wrestling heredity. So you got your kids are half Holloway, half Drain. Most of you by now who have been watching know who the Drains are because of you, and Adam has been my co-host here. I've had your dad on, but Holloway, Stuart Holloway was a state champ for West Burlington High School, and Stephen Holloway, who wrestled for the Hawkeyes, he was a 2-time state champ for Mediapolis. So yeah, it was like your kids are half Holloway, half Drain. Can't really beat that, huh?
A monster. And what's cool about it all is he's like he's wanting to exercise and eat right and stuff, which is, I think, not just that, but like the only time I could take him to the gym is at 5 a.m. And so it was the other day. We had to get about after 4, get out the door. He came in, we're at 4. He more than Everett, my middle child, because he's gonna, he'll be 6'3", 200 some pounds. Aiden.
What? Oh, I thought you said your middle child.
No, Everett's the middle child. He's more like me. He's a little smaller.
Gotcha. Looks a lot more like you too. Aiden looks a lot like the Holloways. Your daughter looks like you, doesn't she?
Yeah, well, that's good because I'm ugly. So
I just said your daughter looks like you.
I know, it's good. I'm ugly.
I get you. I should have caught on to that right away with my 3 daughters. Right. Gotta roll with the punches, bud.
Yeah. No, but
if you're ugly, if you're ugly, then like your daughter's not ugly. Come on.
She's trying to talk to me right now. What's up, honey? Yeah, soon. Yeah. I'm on a call, hon. Okay. Anyways, sorry about that.
You're good.
No, you can't cook eggs. You need to wait for me. Oh man, she's wanting to run the stove.
So, once you watch me, can you watch me?
I'll watch you in a bit, hon. Okay? Can you give me a minute?
Yeah, we're actually going to have 2 guests tonight. We got Aaron Drain right here for those of you just tuning in. We're going to have 2006, gosh, what was he? 1A 145 or 1A 152 state champ from Audubon. His name's Kirk Landon. That's going to drive me nuts. I'm sure I'll find out here pretty soon. But what would you say are some of the similarities and differences between the 2 wrestling scenes in California and Iowa?
Oh, that's a deep question. I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, similar. The love for wrestling, they love it out here. I don't know. The kids and they all. I think that they just have a passion for it, but at the same time, I don't think they take it as serious probably than they do in Iowa. And that includes the high school. I've been in there with some high school practices, and it's not like they're not working hard, but they're not. It's not the folk. Like, I feel like in Mediapolis or a lot of schools in Iowa, you went to wrestle. I'm not going to say grades were secondary. That's not what I mean, but there was a high emphasis on that sport. And, it's the opposite here. If that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah.
More of just a recreation. Let's have some fun. So they still love it. It's not that they don't. They're not. And I don't want to take it away from the coach because he's a good guy and he took my kids in right away. And did wonders.
Yeah, you can't put a price tag on that sort of thing. Because if you've been in a situation where you don't have anybody that does that, it's pretty hopeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know, and where we're being active duty military, we bounce around so much. We don't have any consistency. We don't have continuity with coaches. It's nice that I show up and I'm like, I need help. The only continuity is me. And I think we all know that our dads being the coach isn't always the best.
It was pretty counterproductive for me. If it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't have wrestled. Like I would have quit probably.
Sure.
But also, it's pretty hard to compete to your fullest when you're scared of how your dad will feel if you win or lose. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes it's difficult for a kid to decipher if things are personal or not, if you win or lose, and it's a challenge for both the kids and the parents sometimes.
So we went to Texas, we've been to Las Vegas. Well, in the last 6 years, we've moved every 2 years or less. And when COVID hit, we were in Clovis, New Mexico, and they were starting up this wrestling program for high school and everything. And COVID hit, and it all stopped. So now there was no sports. I mean, and Clovis, New Mexico is like Minneapolis, except for the nearest town is an hour away. It is not. I'm not gonna knock the place because we have a lot of airmen stationed there doing great things, but at the same time, it's just not a great place to have COVID, right? So they suffered, and we didn't get into wrestling for it was like a 2-year gap, and it hurt. It hurt us all, including me.
Gotcha.
But right, so it's nice to have a coach. It's nice to have a coach to kind of I can step back, leave the wrestling room. And I don't want to take away from our parents because our parents, you're right, Mark, my dad, Mike, say all of them, they did great. It's not that they didn't. It's just right. It's different when it's your own dad and your own son.
Right.
It's just a different dynamic that you can't get over.
Right. It's hard to not take things personal on both sides.
Yep. So.
And when wrestling starts feeling as if the results and outcomes, once it reaches a point where it's personal to somebody, whether you win or lose, like, oh, you won, I'm so happy that you made me look good there. That's wrong. Oh, you lost? How embarrassing. You embarrassed me. It sucks. Yeah. And a lot of parents, that are coaches, they struggle with both those routes. And even if you grew up with it and understand that sort of thing, it's hard to still implement it with your own kids. Because I've got that struggle now. I'm not hard on my kids at all with wrestling, but it seems like I am with the way they respond. It's like if they lose, they're scared of what I'm going to say. It's like, but wait a second, I have never for 1 second said that I am happy or upset that you lost. I'm just happy you're doing it. But the vibe is that I get mad.
I want to tell you, you talked about coaching and mentoring stuff. Like I do a lot in the Air Force. It's my primary job most of the time. But I tell a story, and I tell a story whenever I go somewhere new, and it's a great story. It's about Aiden, and we were at this national. We were in Dallas at this national tournament. He was probably 8 or 9. I can't remember. So I hadn't lost, right? Because he's a Holloway. So all year he'd been crushing it. We get to this big 64-man bracket. I think it might have been bigger. I don't remember now. And he lost and this is 8 or 9 years old. Lost the first match by 1 point. That's pretty good for that age that nobody got pinned, right? It went well. It went tough, and so Aiden came off. It was his first loss. I'm telling you, Josh, it was just like we were out there crying when we were kids. There's pictures of it. I know it, and I'm like, it's okay, man. We're not done. I paid for this hotel room and stuff. We're staying. We're holding the, we're going the distance. And the next match, he was crying. And me and this coach there in Texas were like, hey, you're going to wrestle. He goes out there. This other kid's all spiked up, ready to go. And Aiden's crying. So crying. Right in the middle, about to shake the kid's hand. The ref looks at me. And I looked at the ref. I was like, well, he'll either wrestle or he'll lose. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? And so Aiden went out there and pinned the kid in like 15 seconds, right? Crying the whole time. Crying. Like, as he's doing a half Nelson, tears. And anyway, so And to cut it a little shorter, he did that like however the math comes up, like 4 more consecutive times, crying, pin. He pinned him. He pinned him. He pinned, crying, whole time. Well, one match, he went into the second period. We flipped the coin. I was like, he's already put the kid on his back like twice. I was like, you know what? Go down. He's like, down? But how will I get away? You know, I'm like, just do, whatever. And he goes back. He's going for third place. The kid that beat him in the first match. He did 30 seconds. I was just like, I mean, the point is like that, talking about wrestling and, crying. I don't know. There's kind of what you said there earlier. Like people need to know that failure is okay. And, there ain't a better sport than wrestling to prove that. And you can't blame anybody.
Very humbling sport, isn't it?
So,
hey, Aaron, tell you what, I've got to get 2 people on today. I want to set something up though in the future for when you're able to access a laptop, because then when you're able to do that, it comes in so much better and everything.
Yeah, that's
you
fine.
Okay with that, dude? All right.
Oh, of course.
Man, it's been too long, dude. I'll have to call you in the very near future, and we'll have to chat it up, man.
Yeah, let me know.
But not trying to kick you off. I want to get you when you have better reception.
Don't lie to me.
All right, man. Well, hey, it's good seeing you again, bud. Good seeing you again.
Yeah.
Used to never see any of us without each other. Man, now I haven't seen you in like 9-10 years. Real quick, some comments. This guy, Josh Kelly, said, "What school are you doing in Kelly?" It's funny he asked that because it was right after I was like, "If you have any questions for Aaron Drain, put them in the comments section." Of course,
he's just trying to get me
to. Which me and you were like, good, really best friends. But you and Kelly were like Siamese twins, best friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we still chat. Yeah, we still hang out.
It's hard to imagine you guys not chatting. But Josh Davis says Iowa is corn-fed boys actually doing it. Let's go. I am from Iowa, and as I can agree to that sentiment about Iowa people being corn-fed and tough, it's not to knock Californians. Played that.
Yeah, it is. It's okay. It's okay.
Josh Davis also says Iowa wrestling is the best, especially for high school. Got a lot of there's a lot of people from a lot of states that'll disagree with that, but Iowa high school wrestling is tough, and I'm proud of it. Proud to be from here, and I'm happy that other states are out there competing great wrestlers as well. All right. That was all we got, man. So, all right, dude.
All right, man. Well, let me know.
We'll prepare for this a little better next time, all right? All right, bud.
Definitely, man.
All right, dude.
All right, we'll see you.
See you. All right, the next guest that we got coming on was a state champ in 2006. I don't have to ask him when he comes on. It's 1A 145 or 1A 152, maybe 1A 140. But he's from Audubon, Iowa. Kirk Landon. He's already set up right now, and we'll get him on. This is gonna be my first, actually, I think my second time ever meeting him. I think I met him in a bowling alley in Audubon a few years ago. I'll have to see when I see his face if it's the person I'm thinking of. It is. I did meet you. Man. I did meet you. I knew that was you.
Can you hear me?
Right. Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't have the best.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
What's that?
Awesome that you got to have your buddy on here earlier. I also am in the military, and he was talking about being in the Air Force, moving around. So it's with a lot of my old wrestling buddies, same thing. You don't talk to them for many years, but as soon as you see them, you just start falling back in exactly where you were, which is a pretty cool relationship that wrestling bonds together.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Did you meet a lot of wrestlers when you were in the Army?
I did. Yeah. There's the military in general really attracts wrestlers. It's that hard work and just that shared hardship that people kind of understand coming from a lot of different sports, but specifically combat sports, and even more specifically wrestling has a almost disproportionate amount of wrestlers are in the military compared to the general population.
Gotcha. Heck yeah. Just another reason to be proud to be a wrestler, right? And both
Absolutely.
ways. Both ways. So, dude, so you were a state champ in 2006. Was it 1A 145?
Yeah, you were bouncing around there. It was 1A 135.
Oh man, I was
Yeah.
off on all three of my guesses.
Yeah, but you were
Okay.
close. You're right. You're right there.
Gotcha. So you would have been in there with. God, there's a lot of tough guys around that. You were like a little heavier than Herta and Kothi and
Yep.
those guys,
Well,
right?
wrestled those guys growing up all the time. Actually, you mentioned Nate Herta. I spent a little time wrestling with WCAP out at like an all army out in Colorado, and randomly we're out at Fort Carson, and I saw Nate Herta just on base. He was doing some other military stuff. He also commissioned as an officer, and just randomly, I don't remember how it happened, but we ran into each other, not knowing either one of us was going to be there, and that was a cool experience.
That is cool. Small world, and it almost makes you wonder if it's like, it just makes you wonder if things happen. I don't know, like if you cross paths with certain people for a reason. It's just stories like that are just wild, wild to me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you ever wrestle him?
I wrestled around with Nate a little bit, but I knew Marshall a lot better. You mentioned him. I got to see him last summer, and I'm going to see him here in about another month too.
Oh heck, he'll probably be in my area.
Yeah, so I coach high school down in Tennessee now,
Mhm.
and I usually in the summertime bring a bunch of kids back to Iowa to train with a lot of kids that I grew up training with the guys over at Big Game, and then I grew up in with over on the Southwest Iowa with Panthers, and that'd be like Keith Massey and the Golden Eagles back then, and actually MWC. I don't know if you can see this, just randomly wearing my old. That's Zach Dominguez's club out there, and then some other guys.
I've always heard that he's him and Esai are they brothers, Zach and Esai?
Oh yes, there's three brothers in that group, Zach, Eli, and Esai, and then Esai was my training partner all growing up. So
probably learned how to throw and defend throws.
Yeah, absolutely.
Training with them.
Absolutely. That's kind of where I made a lot of my money was Greco as I got older. I actually took second in what's now U23. It's been a while. But yeah.
My brother got third there last year. That's a big deal getting second there.
Yeah, it was good. That's what kind of got me rolling into a lot of stuff that I did with the Army later on. Mm-hmm. So that was good.
Nice. Who'd you wrestle at the U23s? God, you probably it's just jam packed with D1 studs everywhere.
Yeah, it's man, I can't even remember off the top of my head now. Dating myself here, but that was like 2009, 2010. Mm-hmm. So it's been quite a while that I can't remember the name of the kid that beat me in the finals, but he was a really tough. He was a kid that gave Kyle Dake one of his losses out of Binghamton.
Oh. It wasn't David Taylor, probably.
No, I can't. I honestly can't remember his name off the top of my head. But he's still a tough kid. He's out. I think he moved up to. Where did he go? I can't remember where he went. I'll have to look that one up. But I usually remember the people that beat me. Their names. But yeah, man, it's crazy. I really like what you do with your website. It's always great to see. You always throw a bunch of stuff from my era back then.
Yeah, I actually need to do your era a little bit more, to be honest with you. I feel like I cover the 80s and the 80s guys almost more than anybody. It's just not like that's an era that I just never really. I mean, that's an era that I grew up kind of watching but not understanding, and then I don't know. I fell down that rabbit hole when I started uploading all those YouTube videos, and man, once you watch these 80s guys compete, it's like a hard rabbit hole to get out of. I don't think that people that came after them give them enough credit for how tough they were. Some of the best, like a lot of the guys. I always argue with my brother Shay about this. He's always giving me the guys today would kill the guys from your era. It's like, dude, the guys from my era would adjust to whatever. Not to mention, would guys from your era know how to react to a guy that wrestles like the guys in our era did, coming after you, not worrying about positioning every millisecond and defensive wrestling? would they know how to handle somebody that comes after them like that? Because they never see it anymore. You know,
Yeah, it's a different style, but the athletes would adjust absolutely, and the people who are competitors, they would make those adjustments, and they would be tough for sure.
yeah.
One of the guys,
I even what's that? I'm sorry.
One of the guys that you kind of mentioned on here, I think you had a little bit of a turbulent start with him, but Moza Faye, he I became a little bit better friends with him because he actually joined the Army.
Yes, he did.
With WCAP, and I
Great
got
dude.
time out there. He's super tough guy. He's a fun guy to wrestle, for sure.
Yeah, he before I started Pin Doctors, I couldn't like whenever I would mention my brother Justin's name in wrestling, and if ever and if Moses' name was mentioned, it's like we couldn't hear one or the other without the other one being mentioned. They had one of the most heated rivalries that went on a long time, and God, and I was part of it. I used to like type on the message boards when all that, and I was still pretty young, and as nice and as accomplished and as great as Moza Faye is, and and now I think I always knew and always accepted and always realized that, but now that all that's in the past, it's like, God dang, I didn't give that kid near the respect that he deserved. And it was just because the heat of the rivalry that him and Justin had. They met in the semis at AAU State when they're in 5th and 6th grade. And then they met at Dyersville, the Dyersville Beckman tournament, as freshmen and sophomores in my brother's sophomore and junior and Moses freshman and sophomore years in high school. And Justin beat him the first one, but then Moza got him the second one. That was the first time Moza ever beat him. And then when Justin was a junior and senior and Moza was a sophomore and junior, they met in the quarterfinals twice in a row.
Yeah, that's crazy. So those guys were just old enough that just older than me that I really looked up to that age group. Because like in that same group, you had like Wade Saturn in there.
Justin wrestled him in the quarters the year before Moza.
I remember all that stuff because I've always been kind of a stats guy. Even growing up, like when I was younger, I used to love watching when I was 5th, 6th, 7th grade, watching the high school tournament, going there, watching
That's
those.
Awesome.
And then always seemed to be competing against their younger brothers. Luke Saturn, me and him competed against. But those were some awesome rivalries back then. Those guys had, and Jesse Sundell was kind of in that era.
Him and Jesse was in my grade. Yeah, he and Mario Galanakis from Nottoway Valley had that.
Yeah, so Mario was that was kind of tough because I had good friends in Ogden, and then of course Mario was kind of a kid I looked up to because I remember him wrestling the little kids like AAU districts and stuff, and he was like the first person I remember having bright yellow shoes. He had the old Asics that looked like he's wearing bananas on his feet or something.
Yeah. Aaron Drain had those.
Yep. Yeah. Super tough kid.
Gosh, and you were around Creston also.
Yep.
They had like Willie Harris and Boone Hayes. Oh man.
Yeah.
So and like real tough guys in your grade too, I think.
Yeah. So guys from Creston were like Stoney Stewart, if you remember him. He was always tough growing up. Obviously, the younger Long was really tough.
Andrew, I met him last year.
Yep. Yeah, Andrew was really tough in there. And all those guys, you always compete with them on AAU teams and summer like freestyle and Greco tournaments and stuff like that. You always see those guys. And in Iowa, the wrestling community is really small, but tough for sure.
Yeah. A lot of people when they get in, I don't really get involved with the which state is better than which state stuff. I just think that there's great wrestlers everywhere, and I don't really want to knock any particular region just because they're from that region. But one thing that Iowa that I've noticed as far as how we compare as far as our talent compared to the others, we may not produce as many national champions year by year compared to like a Pennsylvania or Ohio, but our population is like a fragment of what they have, isn't it?
Absolutely. The school that I'm going to be coaching at, so I'm actually a head coach at a school now, and then my community is building another school, and I'm going to take over the head coaching job there. And
Cool.
I think the seventh grade class at the new school that I'm going to be coaching at is like, it's something like 700 kids. So it's just
Wow.
as far as population, I grew up in a town of like 500 in Exira, which is right next to Audubon.
That's where is that where Cash Wilkie or
No,
Evan Hansen?
Evan Hansen is probably the one you're thinking of. He used to wrestle Cash.
Cash Wilkie was Battle Creek out of Grove,
Yep.
wasn't he?
Yeah. So, yeah, but they got some. But now, even the schools in Iowa, I know that Audubon's having to join with. I think there's like 6 schools involved. Now you've got Exira, Elkhorn, Kempleton, Audubon, Irwin, Kirkman, Manning. There's like 6 schools that have to combine to make one wrestling team.
Audubon joined another squad?
We did.
I didn't
So
know that.
Manning and IKM didn't have a wrestling team, and Exira and Elkhorn actually joined schools and became the Spartans, and they didn't have a program or at least a head coach, so they came and joined Audubon as well. So it's Audubon wrestling now, but that's the umbrella, but it's like 6 schools that are combined to make that team.
Wow.
So, yeah, but when you only have 25 kids in a class, and then you've got half of those are girls, and only a fourth of them probably going to wrestle. So it's hard to get numbers.
Sometimes it seems like it's just a matter of changing the culture at certain places.
Absolutely.
You got to make it cool to do.
You do.
That's the best way to get kids out. It's just make it something where if they feel like if they go out for it, the girls will look at them, type of thing. I mean, as much as nobody ever really talks about that, but that's what it's all about. I mean, look at basketball, and people dress like basketball players when they dress casually. Like go to school dressed as basketball players. As their attire. You don't see anybody ever coming to school with a wrestling warm up. Maybe you can make a fad out of that. I'm not gonna try and make a fad out of a wrestling singlet, but that'll never work.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe a wrestling warm up would be cool. Or I think that wrestling shoes. While I think that their main use is for wrestling, that's the only thing I'd ever use them for. But if the world, or if our culture ever gets desperate for new and fresh fashion ideas, it's just a matter of time before they pick up on wrestling shoes. When have they ever been cool to wear to school?
They haven't been. I'm certain of that. But I love wrestling shoes, and I got a collection that's pretty, that fills up most of my closet with wrestling shoes.
Yeah.
I've had them forever. I'm one of the ones that I've kept all my wrestling shoes forever because I've had the same foot since high school, and I've got a lot of wrestling shoes.
So if we had you'd be one of these guys that if you were a pro wrestler, like we have pro basketball players, and they did MTV Cribs on you, you'd have a big shoe room full of wrestling shoes.
Absolutely. I actually,
nice.
I was trying to get the new Jordan Burrow ones that dropped from Rudis, and the website crashed, so I didn't think it went through. But then I got an email just today that said that my order went through, and this was last like Thursday or Friday, whenever they dropped. So pretty excited about those ones coming in.
Rudis was a little behind a little after my time. Probably yours a little bit too, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. So I didn't get it. I didn't get a single Rudis shoe until this year. This was my first, the beginning of this wrestling season, my first pair of Rudis shoes.
I've heard that they are phenomenal, like the best wrestling shoes that I've heard nothing but great things about them. Even if somebody doesn't necessarily care for them as a company for whatever reason, I don't even know. I don't, but I've heard nothing but great things about the quality of their product. I'm always just, because I always had shoes that, Adidas was terrible. God, they always busted out. They only lasted a year, like half a year. Asics, pretty decent, I guess. My best shoe that I ever had was a red, white, and blue Nike. I don't know if you remember those. They're so flexible. You can they're light and flexible, and they stayed together the entire time I had them.
Were these
They
back
were-
in high school, or were they?
Yeah. This would have been 1999 and 2000.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I know which ones you're talking about. Oh yeah, and did they have kind of like did they kind of look like combat speeds a little bit?
Uh,
Do you know what
Man,
combat speed ones are?
I don't.
Yeah,
I know I've
know
heard of them.
which ones you're talking about. Yeah, I don't have a pair of those, but I know which ones you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Remember those ones that were light blue with the yellow and the orange, and yeah,
Yep.
those ones always stick out to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post a little status real quick so people know that you're on right now.
Yeah. No, I know that you had somebody planned earlier, and actually, I was kind of surprised to see that Mitchell was still coaching at Luther. He recruited me when I was in high school, so he's been there for
Dude.
a while.
1 second. Post a little status thing that says that you're on right now, and just so people can see it and tune in. All right. Yeah, Dave Mitchell. He was the guy that recruited me harder, hands down, harder than any other coach.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get recruited that heavily. I only placed at state once. Got sixth my senior year. I was expected to do more coming in because I was pretty successful as a youth wrestler, but and I think a lot of the schools that talked to me was kind of like took an angle of, oh, this guy's got a brother that already got second at state, and my brother Justin was 2 years younger than me, and he got second at state before I even qualified.
Yeah.
So I think the angle with some of them were get this guy in here and maybe we'll land his brother someday.
Mm-hmm.
And I could pick up on that right away because they wouldn't know anything about me, but they spent the entire time talking to me about my brother. Dave Mitchell and Matt Deal from Central, they knew all about, they knew what I was doing. And after I won my quarterfinals match at state when I was a senior in high school, Dave Mitchell found me and congratulated me. I wasn't getting any attention from recruiters other than him and one or two other guys. He made it a point to watch me. You know?
One of my mentors when I was back in high school was Garrett South, at least a guy I looked up to, and he ended up winning a national title at Luther. So I went there and took a visit, and I really enjoyed Luther. They've done well for a long time.
I want to show you an interesting picture of South that I actually already had pulled up that I was going to talk to Mitchell about. This is a good one. Let me see if you can recognize him when I pull it up.
Am I going to be able to see it on my?
Yeah, you will. Present. Stop screen. Oh, I see. Yeah, and I know this doesn't have anything to do with you and who you wrestled, but this was my bracket at state, my 7th grade year. I felt lucky as hell to even place in that thing.
Yeah,
Garrett's
all dressed up in Hawkeye gear, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He beat me for 5th and 6th at state that year. It's the only time I ever wrestled him. And what I remember about that match, he beat me like 6-5. He was one of these guys that I could be so deep in on a shot against him, yet I just couldn't freaking finish it. He always would get his hips up. And I think, 3 of my points were probably escapes, something like, I think I scored 1 fluke reversal, but he took me down, reversed me, took me down. I think he beat me like by 1 point, but it was like a more convincing. But I'll never forget that about him. It would seem like I would have him dead in the water with this deep of a shot I get in with him, and he would just always find some way to weasel out. Like just I don't even know what he did.
Yeah,
I just remember.
Honestly, that comes from. I'll tell you, that comes from his dad. His dad's like, I don't know how old he is now, but my senior year of high school, I used to wrestle at practice, and then we had some mats at my house, and Ryan South, Garrett's dad, used to come down my senior year, and he was probably he was older than most people that would be wrestling, but late 40s, and we would go hard. Like we would wrestle live, and he wrestled so funky that I know that's where Garrett got his style of just
Yeah.
that foot fighting, and you
Yes.
think he had all the tricks from an era gone by where like when he'd wait for people to armbar you and then he'd sit up into them, and
Yes.
I
Dude, I think that's how he scored his reversal on me. Now that you say that,
believe it 100%. Yeah,
I just remember being so frustrated. It's one of those matches where after the match was over with, I was like kind of pissy with him. Just nothing against him, but I was like frustrated. Like,
yeah,
you asshole! I couldn't do anything. Like, I couldn't finish anything against you, jerk.
He even Garrett and them even taught me this this thing in high school that people made fun of me a little bit for. But go down and Garrett would get like, he'd be in neutral, right? And he'd go down and he'd get like almost into a referee's position and slap the mat with both hands.
Mhm.
And people just get frustrated with it because they're like, this can't be a real like fake shot. But he'd just do it, and he would do it 3, 4, 5 times of a level change. And then he'd shoot a low single or a low attack on you.
Mhm.
And he'd get it all the time because people wouldn't want to, basically like react to that. They wouldn't level change that low.
And he was strong to
Mhm.
boot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that just made it even tougher.
Yeah. Yep. They, that family's great. They got a little barn in the back of their yard or in their house that when I bring kids back, they're nice enough to have them wrestle there, and at the same time go hang out and see all the chickens and animals that they have on their farm. They got some good stuff. Actually, if you know who Tiffany South is, probably not, but it's a sibling of Garrett. And
she shared one of my posts on Garrett. I just remember seeing it because like she shared it and like wrote like a really nice message, and I think actually like I know who she is.
So she started or is helping run a girls program that combines several Southwest Iowa teams.
Nice.
So I think they've got a pretty good thing going there with coaching. I think that it spans from, Atlantic and potentially like Griswold all the way down to like Shenandoah. And actually, I don't know the whole area, but it's a big area that they're scooping up just individual girls that don't have a team and putting them together in one, collective group.
I'll have to find more info on that because I'd like to post something so people are aware of that. I'd like to post something on the page so people. I don't know. The South family always treated us with the utmost respect. All of them. I met the dad. Talked to Garrett most years I was at state. Yeah. Love to help them out. It's
for sure. They had a big impact on my wrestling career for sure.
Guy that you idolized growing up. I've heard that in his area or in his school or whatever it may be, I've heard that he's considered like, just like a legend there. Like everybody knows the deal with him,
For sure. They're so they actually I want to speak on this, but his school was a school that got, smaller numbers and farming community, and they ended up going with Atlantic High School for several years.
Avoca?
It's Cam. So
Cam Anita. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, and Avoca did go with, they've kind of mixed around, but now that Avoca's with Walnut and some of the other one schools, but Cam, I think, started their own wrestling program again this year. I think they had at least 1 or 2 state qualifiers too.
Nice.
So that's a pretty cool situation they got going there.
And Evan Hansen took over at Avoca.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He'll do great things there, man. He's
I'm sure.
Yeah, I covered him a lot especially when he's at Grandview, because my brother Brennan and Shay were NAIA at that time, and he was a 4-time NAIA champ.
Yeah.
So gotta talk to this guy. And very well spoken, and always made it a point to give props to who coached him growing up and the kids that are in the works in his neck of the woods.
Yeah, I actually surprisingly don't know Evan that well, but we know all the same people. He used to work for my uncle at Hy-Vee, and then he coached with Trent and Travis Paulson out at Virginia for a little bit, and obviously same community. We're 15 miles away, but we just happened to be in that gap where I graduated and I went off to the military, and I was in Hawaii and Colorado and Oklahoma and stuff. That when he was going through, I watched his career, but I wasn't like really involved with it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, from all the matches that I've seen and his accomplishments, he's a really tough kid.
It's kind of how I felt with the guys in your age group, actually, because I was up at Dubuque, Iowa, when you guys,
Yep.
I don't know, I was living the college life, and it's harder for me to follow it. I just, I'd say if there's any era that I lost, that I'm not with it, would be 2004 through 2008 guys.
Yeah.
I needed to brush up on a lot of that because I was basically in a coma those 4 years. I mean, might as well have been anyways.
Yep. I
Had my priorities mixed up and was not paying attention to wrestling. That's for sure. Lucky that I graduated college. Well,
yeah.
Not that it's doing me any good, but just I don't know how, But yeah, I know what you mean by that. I probably feel the same way about like who's that guy from Avoca that Garrett Pauly? Pauly,
Gabe,
one state. Or
Pauly.
Gabe.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's another kid where he had some siblings that I grew up wrestling all the time, and and I knew his dad really well, but his family, I didn't know Gabe that well because he was a little like toddler when I was going
Surprised
around.
he didn't talk to you. He was always chatterbox.
Yeah, but man, I watched him wrestle a couple times, and he was super tough kid. But that was one of those where unbelievably strong. His dad was a really good boxer. Not necessarily.
Was he?
But yeah.
Huh.
Really good boxer.
Didn't know that. A lot of these dudes that have boxing backgrounds, their kids end up making great wrestlers.
Yep. Yeah. That whole. He's actually. I mean, there's a pretty big gap between the oldest, sibling and the youngest sibling there, and they had a lot of athletes come through. Some sisters that did really well in cross country. I think some of them ran college track, so they had some good athletes running through that family for sure.
What was the name of the Audubon family that had the? I usually know this off the top of my head, and I'm not talking about the Carnes family. I know them. But they had one of them was a state champ, and the other one got second. 90s.
Yeah, man, you're killing me. I'm so bad with names. Andy and Matt. Andy and Matt.
Oh God, that's right.
Man, if somebody watches this and they know that I don't know that.
Kiger.
What?
Kiger.
Yeah. So their dad was a wrestling coach for a long. He was my uncle's wrestling coach.
Okay.
Yeah, those guys were. It's crazy because I think Matt's still doing some stuff involved with wrestling. I don't know if Andy is, but they were super tough. They were just like they were a little bit. I was in second or third grade when they were really dominant.
Yeah,
they're tough kids for sure.
For those of you who are listening right now, if you would like to talk to 2006 1A 135 from Audubon, state champ Kirk Landon, and you competed 4 years for Army West Point too.
I did. Yep.
Cool. Anyways, in the comments, man, hit us up. Hit us up.
Yeah.
I think I set this up to where people can rewind and start from the beginning. So we'll probably, hopefully we get something. Also, send stars if you like these, because that's how these are funded. I hate asking for stars.
Yeah.
Like who has to panhandle for Facebook stars?
Man, this is my first time I've ever really been involved with something like this. So, really cool. You're a big fisherman, right? Or at least.
Oh yeah. I like it more than I like wrestling.
Yeah, I'll throw in a little plug here. My training partner all through college, Rudy Chiletnik, he is now a fishing guide down in. It's can't remember the exact name of the lake, but it's down near Branson. It's like Springfield, Missouri area, and
one of the best places to fish is that whole region.
Sure. He's a true fisherman. I used to go like on spring break and stuff. I'd go back to his house and we'd go fly fishing, and I felt like I was doing the exact same thing as he was. You know what I mean? As far as
Yeah.
tossing it and stuff like that.
But he was knocking him down, wasn't he?
He would catch 10 to my 1, no matter what. Like I just couldn't. I don't know what it was. He just has the touch.
Yeah. I feel the same way about Marshall Cothe. He'll catch 10 catfish to my 2 perch and 3 gar.
Exactly.
I mean, we'll have it rigged the same exact way. And with catfishing, you just leave it out. You know.
Sometimes he would even take my pole. It was already set up and just and then
like kind of. Oh gosh, you were having trouble with this?
Yeah,
all right, rub it in. But yeah. You ever fished the Mississippi?
Not too much. I haven't done a lot of river fishing. I usually did bass out of ponds.
Nice.
And I really enjoyed. I was in Hawaii with the military. I really enjoyed some deep water fishing and stuff like that. Some open ocean stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good to see Marshall.
I didn't even know he was tuning in. Glad he liked that story.
Yeah.
It's an experience fish. I thought he was trying to give me the lecture. It's all experience. Like, please, dude. World record setting trout fisherman here. I don't know if you know that story yet, but yeah, I thought he was giving me the speech about, oh, it's just all experience and what. No, luck, Marshall.
Yeah, it's definitely. I'm convinced it's got to be luck. Otherwise, I'd be good at it.
Yeah, and if I was judged by my fishing scores, like when I fished with Marshall, I'd be considered probably the best gar fisherman that's ever lived.
Oh, man.
But
I saw. Was it your brothers caught some fish the other day that?
Yes. My brother Justin and Brennan. They both live in Iowa City. Brennan still has another year at Iowa, and Justin has lived there for a long time. But so they hang out a lot throughout the course of the week, of course. And Justin takes them fishing. Well, take each other fishing, and they caught 4 sturgeon.
That's crazy.
Yeah, none of us brothers had ever caught one single sturgeon. Our dad hasn't ever in our entire lives, and they caught 4 in like 45 minutes.
That's crazy.
Fishing is just so weird, dude.
It is.
I caught a trout in the Mississippi River where I live, and I didn't even know what it was. I'd never caught anything that looked like it before. I had only caught one walleye in my life, which was like 15 years before that happened. And I put it on Snapchat, and I saved it with the caption, "What is this? A walleye?" And it was a trout. And I sent it to the DNR to ask him. Turns out it was the furthest south on the Mississippi. It was a record trout, furthest south on the Mississippi that anybody's ever caught a trout, ever.
Wow.
And they posted it on their page. Here I am, this big bad trout fisherman, record-setting trout fisherman, and in the caption, "What is this, a walleye?" The true trout and walleye fishermen were just going crazy on that post.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was fun to watch. I mean, I've never had so much fun like just reading comment after comment after comment of people just making fun of me. I think it's I don't know. Yeah. I feel sorry for these people that can't catch laughs at their at themselves being made fun of, or if it's all in good fun. Because I think it's really funny when I read it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's good.
Like,
yeah, that's one of the things. Where I coach now, it's it's a little bit more populous area. Like I said, I wouldn't say it's quite as big as like Des Moines, but it's a pretty decent area. And when I get to bring kids back to Iowa, and we do some fishing and we do some other stuff, and it's just an awesome experience because most of the time they've never really done many outdoor things like that. We ride 4-wheelers and ATVs and just fish and do stuff like that. And it's a really bonding and great experience for them, and something that I look forward to every year, is being able to provide that experience for them.
Yeah. What's the biggest bass you've ever caught?
Oh man, I don't know. I've got some pictures of me when I was little, and there's some. They look pretty big, but I don't know what the biggest one. I missed that. As an adult, I haven't got to do much bass fishing because uh, every time I move with the military, I never know, like when you grew up in Iowa, I knew every farmer in in the area, and you could go fish on their ponds and stuff like that. Now you got to fish recreational like areas or public areas, and it's just not the same.
And a lot of the farmers that they do have there probably aren't as accommodating to strangers as somebody in Iowa might be.
Oh, for sure. I'll tell you one crazy story. When I was in high school, right, my dad started becoming really good friends with Bobby Douglas, right, and they're still best of friends. Bobby came down to go fishing, and he brought Grant Nakamura with, and Grant was from Hawaii. Well, we went out fishing at this local pond, and it's like my dad and Bobby, and then me and Grant are in another little boat. We're fishing on this thing, and Grant spots a grass carp, right? And it's like this huge one. Like I'm talking like it was just ginormous. And he goes out and grabs a like a spearfish, because you do spearfishing underwater. And we get next to this thing, and we end up shooting this. Ended up being like a 53-pound grass carp that was like, huge. But as we were driving out, we stopped and talked to the farmer. And of course, you can't catch and release something that's been shot by an arrow.
Yeah.
And it's in the back of the truck, and we're talking to him and stuff. And he just, puts his hand on the back of the truck and looks over. And he's like, "Did you shoot my grass carp?"
My one grass carp.
It ate all the algae and stuff out of that.
Yeah.
The pond.
Yeah, they live well. They live well.
Yeah.
My dad always just puts one in ours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was not very happy about that one. We didn't get invited back to fish there very often.
Man, I've heard that spearfishing in Southwest Iowa is huge. Alec, do you know who Alex Thompson from Underwood is? And
Yeah,
Blake
I do.
Thompson?
I do know him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a 4-timer. Blake was a 3 or 4-time placer. But they're real big into the spearfishing scene, and they once had a carp that was just huge that I posted on here. I'll have to repost that one because it's awesome. But
I'll see if my mom sells those pictures of that one. That was crazy.
I would post it for sure.
I went back. Man, it had to be like 2016 or something like that. I came back and I was doing Greco stuff. That was when I was training with Moza and stuff. But I was on the Greco, and I came back and trained with Zach Dominguez out at MWC, and Alex happened to be there. And I remember he was maybe like a sophomore or junior in high school, and he was doing stuff that like I couldn't even believe. He was back arching people and just the most beautiful throws I'd seen of anybody. He was just crushing.
He reminded me of Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat.
He was
like
crazy.
Just the way just and it was like, and he would look cool doing it too. Looked effortless.
He could do, you can't teach somebody to do the things or be that acrobatic.
Right. They either have that sort of athleticism, or they just have to work hard to get the most out of what they've been dealt. Alex, there's not very many Greco guys that I was ever produced that are better Greco guys than Alex.
Oh, for sure. He's a tough. He's really tough. Yep, we're gonna bring. I'm gonna bring some kids out to after we go through Iowa. We're gonna go to the University of Nebraska for wrestling camp, for the team camp out there, and hopefully Alex is out there being a counselor or something like that.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, so
does he still have years of eligibility? I actually don't know.
I don't know. Some of it. See, he was in the same grade as my youngest brother, Brennan, and some of those guys that were in NAIA, they got like some of them got different years of eligibility that others did, and I don't know. I think they all got like an average of 1 year free for that. But a lot of guys, it's like it wasn't in the cards for them career-wise to go to school that long.
Yeah.
I
definitely.
Brennan was lucky enough to be NAIA at that time, and they had their national tournament right when COVID was just starting to kind of like, they're just starting to kind of like get a little bit louder. And he was the defending national champ at that time. It was like if it would have been a week later, he wouldn't have won his second title because everything was getting canceled after that. D1's got canceled that year. I want to say D3 got canceled that year, and they came up with the coaches. Yeah, we were like lucky that we were in NAIA that year because we were the only ones that had a national tournament.
Yeah,
And
so that was the year that I got involved with coaching for the first time, getting back, and we had specifically two kids. One of them was a kid that started as a freshman, and I was only there for a senior year, but he ended up having a phenomenal state tournament and ended up winning it here in Tennessee. And kind of because of that, he had the opportunity to wrestle in college. If they didn't have that state tournament, I doubt that he was a tough kid, but he wasn't that well known. And then also, I had a female that it was her first year wrestling, and she did really, really well. Ended up going on and wrestling in college because she enjoyed it so much. But had she been in the following class or not had the state tournament, I doubt either of those two would have progressed to the next level.
Yeah, it's just crazy how time and certain events can have such impacts. It's with that COVID thing, I didn't really take it all that seriously until the wrestling stuff started getting canceled. Like, what? It must be pretty freaking serious if we're canceling these, because the wrestling group community, there's tons of members that'll just lose their shit about it,
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I had COVID like right away. Like I was one of the first people that I knew that got COVID, like early March. I think I got COVID. Like they canceled the NCAA wrestling tournament that year, and like the next day I got COVID, and it was really bad for me because at that point in time they didn't basically they were like, hey, if you can still breathe, like don't come to the emergency room because there's nothing to do for you, and that was a kind of a scary thing. But then once I was done, then I kind of felt a little bit immune to it, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So it seemed even extra long for me because I was like, I've already had this. Let's move on. Let's go. So a year and a half later, when stuff was still kind of shutting down, I was ready to move on.
Yeah. You your first time having COVID, did you have some strong symptoms and stuff, or was it mild case?
If you remember that during that time, when the stuff they were putting out in the news, like basically I had all the symptoms, like, couldn't breathe, basically like developing pneumonia. My mom was really scared that things weren't going to go well. But yeah, I remember I was in Nashville at that time in a meeting, and then I got called the next day that said, hey, somebody in this meeting tested positive, and then because that was the time where they're doing all the contact tracing.
Yeah.
Right? They called me up and said, hey, this person tested positive, watch out for symptoms. And within 24 hours, I went from feeling great to just I just felt it come on. I was actually out on a run, trying to get back in shape because I was just getting back into coaching and kind of, trying to get back into shape and stuff. And I was feeling pretty good about it. And then just my body started to hurt. You got those body aches. And then just all of a sudden, probably 8 hours later, I was not wanting to be around anybody.
Oh, man. Yeah. Mine weren't that bad. It's just like sniffles and like a little cough. The one thing that really was off-putting for me with it is it felt like the phlegm that you try coughing up. It felt like it was stuck to your lungs. Like it felt like you couldn't get it out because it was like sticking to your alveoli in your lungs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if this was more severe, that would be a freaking problem and a bad way to go. Like,
yeah.
Ugh.
That is crazy. That did. And you got kids, right? I heard you talking beforehand. I've got a son that's now in fourth, going to be fifth grade, and he was in first grade. I just remember I was like, there's no way that I can homeschool him during this time. That would be tough, but you basically had to, or at least where I was, we had to. So
yeah, they basically had like a half year that year.
Yeah,
kids did. Tough. It was tough, especially see, I had a full-time job at a factory at that time where I had to and they, of course, their business went up.
Yeah.
You had to be there like 6-7 days a week towards my last 4 years there. And like, if I didn't have anybody to watch my kids, they would give you 2 points for it. It's just like SOL. Like,
Yeah.
and there was no accommodation at all. Not that they're obligated to do that for us, but I mean, come on, like, get with the time, like, go with the times a little bit, to where you don't look like total assholes with how you're running your company.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Man.
Real quick, a couple comments. Got Johnny Johnson. Do you know Johnny? He's a college and high school ref at East Buchanan. I want to say graduated at Clarion. Probably one of these guys. You probably know him if you saw him.
Probably.
We're probably one of my favorite guys in wrestling media ever. But he said, "Oh, this is about the trout. Did you have a trout stamp? Didn't even know it was a trout." But his next comment was, the JUCO and NAIA both held their national tournaments that year, and then D1, 2, and 3 all canceled. Man, it was a good year to be JUCO and NAIA, because those guys, I felt so bad for those guys in D1, D2, and D3, dude. Like, especially these seniors that were going to be gone. Like, I read some of the saddest Twitter and Facebook status updates that I've ever seen from some of those guys that didn't get a last chance. And
just think of like Pat Lugo. Was he the one that was in there? And then the Taylor Luan, is that right, out of northern Iowa?
May have been 1 year.
One of the there's a couple guys that just lost their opportunity there.
Yeah. Lugo was having a hell of a season too, wasn't he?
I remember him first or something, season, but I can't. I don't specifically remember. Yeah.
So let's get back to your career. And the main reason why you and your name stick, other than meeting you briefly at the bowling alley, which I'll have to elaborate on that story a little bit more, and maybe you'll remember if you know who I was with. But I remember you because I want to say we had a Southeast Iowa guy, in which even when I was, from 2004 to 2008, when I wasn't really paying attention that much, I was still paying attention to the guys from my area, especially sons of coaches from my area. Like one of the guys that Johnny Siegel was a dude that I don't know if he was in your bracket or if you wrestled him.
Lucky. I think he was a pretty tough kid. I wrestled in the quarterfinals of state, and I didn't really know a whole lot about him at the time or anything like that. I didn't catch him in a cradle. I think I pinned him in the first period. But he was a tough kid, and I think he went on to win it the next year.
Yeah.
So,
got third or fourth the year after.
I can't remember. I do know that he got a state title in there at one point in time. But yeah, he was. I know him from seeing his name on the bracket and remember our one match. But seemed like a great dude from the little bit I did know about him.
Yeah, he was just starting to come around real good that year, actually. I don't see his dad is a legend in my area. He coached. His name's John Siegel Sr. He coached a little powerhouse at Morning Sun until they closed down, and then he started coaching at Wapello for a little bit, and they won a title when he was an assistant there. Then he moved over to Columbus Junction and helped Bill Pleen, who was head coach there for years. And gosh, I don't know how many state titles those two won together. Then he was coaching at New London, and they did really well when he was there. I mean, everywhere the Siegel family goes, they're doing a great job. Even Johnny nowadays, in which Johnny personality-wise doesn't really remind me a whole lot like his dad. Got two different kind of styles. Dad's a little bit more intense. Johnny's real laid back, and but Johnny coaches a club in Iowa that's done real good for over a decade called DC Elite.
I've seen. I look on the AAU stuff every once in a while. Like I don't follow AAU, but I'll usually check out the end of year results, and I really like how they throw the clubs up there now.
Yeah,
you can see where the kids are coming from. But I always see DC Elite. I always see those kids in there. So
and for years now,
Yeah.
years. I want to say late 2000s.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the two main guys that have been coaching there since it began was a state champion out of Cedar Rapids Prairie named Dusty Kufel from the 90s, and I think he was a national qualifier for Wisconsin later on. Him and Johnny Siegel, they've been the main two.
That's
And I'm
awesome.
sure that, I'm sure that,
Yeah, that
yeah,
is that
but,
is
but
that is really awesome.
Johnny didn't really make a whole lot of noise until his sophomore year, though, in high school. I don't remember him doing much in the kids stuff. I don't even know if he got started until a little later.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were surprised by that because his dad is considered to be very intense. You know, it would be a one that somebody would expect to start their kids once they got out of Pampers. Um,
Mhm.
but no, I was real like I don't even know if he wrestled that much in youth, but he made up for it in high school. He
For
really came
sure.
around,
Yeah, he was.
and at Co College too.
Mhm. Yeah, he wasn't somebody that I was super familiar with going into the state tournament. Um, because it was a yeah, but he was a tough kid for sure. Another kid that's got another guy that I used to grow up wrestling all the time that I think he posted about recently is doing good things in the youth is Derek Moyer.
Yes.
I had
Yep.
some real battles with him growing
Mhm.
up.
Man, if you're good enough to give him battles,
I beat him.
'cause-
I eighth grade AAU state. I think I beat him in like the quarterfinals,
nice, it's a
something like
great
that.
win.
I remember somebody came up to me afterwards and they're like, oh, Derek's really, he was really pissed because you beat him, and because he didn't get a win state this year. And I was like, well, I also want to win.
Yeah, I would have been pissed too.
No,
Yeah.
he's a great kid. I was happy to see that he's doing well, and his son. I saw his son wrestle at one of the things, and he's
Amazing.
oh yeah,
An incredible fourth grader. Like,
Uh,
and people laugh. Don't judge for you can't judge kid. Yeah, you can. Yeah,
yeah.
you can. A lot
Well,
of these kindergartners that win Super Pee Wee State, you see them win high school titles all the time.
you're man. It's those same kids. They're the same kids that I wrestled in third and fourth grade. Were the same kids I was wrestling trying to qualify for an NCAA tournament. Right?
Hmm.
It's those kids
And some do rise up, and
for
later
sure.
on.
But I was in the group with like, uh, you know, so I was on Southwest Iowa, but the Southeast kids that I was always going against um, over there that were kind of whooping on me all the time was Joey Slayton and Mitch Mueller and that group of kids who were phenomenal.
Yeah, they're a little bit more north. They'd be like right on the outside edge of Southeast Iowa, I'd say. I think
Yeah,
they're considered mid east, but
yeah.
they're just we saw them at almost every tournament in those days, and
I wrestled.
like Mitch Mueller had that freaking fireman's that was incredible. You know,
Yeah, phenomenal. But I think in second grade, well, I'll tell you, in two things of there that you're talking about, little kids doing well. I wrestled Nick Pickerel in the semifinals of second grade, or maybe third grade in there. But we wrestled in the semifinals of AAU state, and then we wrestled in an all-star duel as seniors in high school in that north-south, tournament that they used to have. I don't know if they still have that one. And then also me and Justin Kerber wrestled all the time growing up, and then we both ended up in schools in New York. Him at Cornell, me at Army. So we were in the same conference, and basically all the opens I'd see him. So I mean, we knew each other from first, second grade, all the way up through the end of college.
yeah,
Which is crazy. So yeah, those kids. There's definitely kids that rise through and get tough, and it's not necessary to start that early. But the kids that do, I mean, they're still if they're good now and they have the right support system, they can still be good when they reach the highest levels.
right, right, and more power to these kids that get off to a later start and emerge. Those are always good stories too, and not saying that you have to be a super Pee Wee champ to be good by any means,
Mm-hmm.
but to say that it's not an indicator of things to come, I mean, that's just silly. You look at these past results every year. Yeah, there are tons of familiar names every single year. You can't convince anybody. You can't convince anybody in the right mind that's thinking logically that that has
Yeah,
that there's no consistency with that in high school results.
There's a lot that goes into it. Kids that used to whoop me when I was younger, I would progressively get better, and there's also kids that rose up behind me and eventually got better than I was. So it's not like it's everybody's kind of on their own journey. As a coach, it's just trying to help those people find their passion for the sport, so that they can have a good their own journey with it.
Exactly. Well said. So when you were at state your senior year, so you had the 4th place guy in the quarters. Who'd you have first round?
I actually wrestled. You probably, like you said, you missed this. My senior year, I was ranked 2nd in state. I placed 3rd in state as a sophomore. Junior year, I only lost to one kid, Johnny Wyman, and it kept me from going to sectionals, or it kept me from going to state. And then senior year, I was ranked number 2 all year. And then first round of the state tournament, I wrestled a kid from Don Bosco, Adam Weber, who was ranked number 1 in state.
Oh, hell yeah. That kid was a badass.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little story about our match there. I actually told this story not too long ago, and his brother was sitting right beside me and was like, remember it the same way. But me and Adam were wrestling, and at one point in time, I think I got a first takedown, and then he got an escape. Score was like 2-1 going into the 3rd period. He was a real long kid. He liked cradles. I like cradles. And I stood up, and he kind of lifted my leg. So I'm winning at this point, but maybe like 1 point, right? Mm-hmm. And there gets to be about 5 or 6 seconds in the match, and I'm standing up, and he locks up a standing cradle, right? And he brings me down to the mat. And as we're falling down, I kind of reach over his head, and I get him in a cradle. So we both got cradles, and he's kind of rolling me through. And I look up on the Jumbotron above us, and I can see myself getting pinned, basically, in the first round of the state tournament, senior year. About 5 seconds left in the match, and I kicked through, and he broke his hands on the cradle, and I rolled up on top. The ref swiped twice, and basically hit the thing. And I thought we were going into overtime because he got 3 back points and I got 2. But they
seeing yourself like that, like, give you a little jump to, oh shit! Like,
yeah, it just, it's not a good feeling to see yourself up above on a giant screen.
Oh, I bet, man. Wow.
And
like seeing yourself in a position like that you may not even have realized how bad it looked.
I mean, I was on my back with 4 or 5 seconds left, and rolled through. And then,
that's like
like 7-5 because of the reversal was the only reason that I basically won that match.
Do you have a copy of that match by chance?
I'll have to ask my mom to see if she got one. I can't even find my state finals match. I don't know.
2006. Go to Iowa High School Sports Network and add their app. I don't know if they start in 2006 or 2007, but they get mad at me if I were to share any of their videos.
Yeah.
They made that very well known that they would. But and I understand, it's not my. Yeah. But they do have most years from like 2005 or 6 all the way to 2023. I can check for you right now, actually, if they have that. So did Weber? Did he get beat out then?
He did, and he wrestled a kid named I think it was like Adam Hagman, I believe his kid
from great grandpa Hageman.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but they went into overtime, and from my angle, when I was watching it, looked like Adam should have had an escape, but he got an escape, turned around and shot back in immediately, and they didn't give him the 1. And then I think in overtime, they ended up the other kid got a takedown or rode him out. I can't remember. It was a super close match, but he ended up going. Unfortunately, he went 0-2. But he ended up doing real well in college, right? Wrestled at Wartburg. Adam Weber.
Oh, did he? I don't know. To be honest with you, the Webers of Don Bosco, I just need to get them all straight, because there's been so many good ones. I know Daryl and Lee from the '90s, but
Yeah.
there were a few more Webbers that came, and Adam was one of them.
Yeah. Yep.
There's another great wrestler, the great Don Bosco wrestler that was always placing around your grade. I want to say he was a little lighter. Oh,
Was it Ryder? Because Riders were riding.
no, it wasn't Ryder. It would have been. I could probably find it actually. It wasn't O'Laughlin. It
O'Laughlin was O'Laughlin. I wrestled O'Laughlin for like 5th and 6th place in AAU, and I never heard of that kid again. And then he beat Patrick Mackey in the state finals, and I was like,
yes, when Mackey was a senior.
Yep. Because Patrick was another kid that I grew up wrestling all the time.
Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts if I don't find it.
I'm just gonna try to find my power cord.
Okay. Vance Ortner.
Let's see here. I recognize that name, but I never competed against him that I can recall.
Yeah. I don't think he ever placed real high, but he was just always in the mix. He's always in like that 5 through 8 mix, even when like in AAU. Always able to get people fits though. Like he's always a threat. People had to wrestle really well to. I love wrestlers like that. I love those little, the wild cards. Maybe it's just because I consider myself a little bit that way. My, type of stuff that guys like, I don't know, like the wild card types do can be like boom or bust. It's like, they have great moments when it works, but man, do they have some bad moments when it doesn't work.
Yep.
Peaks and valleys. So you beat the number one guy in the state, ranked number one guy in the state first round. Then you beat the guy that got 4th quarterfinals. Who'd you have in the semis? And you had a guy named from Nodaway Valley in the finals. Kale.
I did. Kale Hall. You're right. So I actually had the kid that got 3rd place.
Wow.
His name was Orlando Peace. Didn't really know much about him going into the match. I had to win in overtime. So that was a tough one. And yeah, that kid kind of came out of nowhere. I hadn't really wrestled him growing up or anything like that, but he was super long, lanky, great match. And ended up getting he was in on really close to getting a takedown on in overtime. But just luck of the match, I guess, ended up getting that win. And then I had wrestled Kale, the kid that wrestled in the finals. I'd wrestled him from when we were a lot younger. We wrestled quite a few times, but never in high school.
Really? I figured you guys would have had each other at sectionals and districts and stuff.
We never crossed paths in high school at all. And and then I felt it was fun to wrestle him because he was a kid that, we'd wrestled before. I think that my 7th grade year, I was in a AAU district bracket. I think the last time that I wrestled him previously, we were junior high. And in that bracket, there was only like 4 people, and it was like me, him, Patrick Mackey, and one other pretty tough kid. I think we may have all placed at AAU state that year. But it was good to see him because the Nottoway Valley kids over there, I was pretty good friends with a lot of them. And Kale actually was a CAM guy, which was the same school that Garrett South was from.
Yeah.
And I guess at some point he moved over to Nottoway Valley.
Gotcha. When I was spending time in Audubon a few years ago, and I'd get excited every time I ran into somebody with a wrestling shirt at the bowling alley or something, and be like, somebody I could talk to. I always tried figuring out like where a lot of the Audubon wrestling communities, like the schools that they were felt, they were really the schools that they, I guess, didn't like, and and the schools they were like impartial to. But from what I picked up when I was over in Audubon, there's some bitter rivalry type feelings with some Audubon wrestlers and guys from, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Oakland Riverside seem like
I could see that. And it was, for me, not some. You know what? I had a pretty good battle with some kids from Oakland. They always tough team. They're in our conference, but they're far enough away that you didn't get a lot of overlap in like clubs or friendship type
gotcha.
thing. So yeah, I could see that they
They were real big in the '90s, so like
they had a great team. I wasn't old enough to really follow, but I got to meet those guys later on. Kind of that crew that's just they had Jimmy Rogers, and then they had some kids that wrestled Canoyers. Yep, they got some. They had some real tough kids come out of that program. A little bit prior to my time.
And their coach always looked like the Terminator or something. Like
he
had the flat top and was like smooth.
The crew cut. Yeah, he was an intimidating guy.
Yeah, that's cool. Logan Magnolia. A lot of Audubon guys I talked to there. They wanted their guys to beat some Logan guys.
Yeah, because Logan Magnolia, I mean, they were at the top of the state for years there.
They're so consistently solid too. You never see really a bad team ever trotted out by them.
I had some real battles with kids out of Logan for sure. They had a great team. We lost, I think one of the best Audubon teams that I was part of, I think we lost to Logan by 1 point in Audubon. And, the Logan fans were passionate. The people there were passionate. And then we beat them.
They love their guys, man.
Oh, yeah. And that is if you can get a win over a Logan kid.
They sent me a book about their program. Yeah, somebody sent this to me. It's like, thank you. Yeah, like what programs have a book about, Oh,
their program is great. And actually, Matt Kiger, the one that you were talking about earlier from Audubon, I don't know if he's still there, but he was involved in the Logan program within the last couple of years.
Nice.
So,
do you have an experience with the Carnes family?
Yeah, I love the Carnes family.
It seems like a very beloved family in Audubon.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, Mr. Carnes, when I'm referring to Mr. Carnes, the father, I mean, he was a staple in the Audubon school system, and in a small town, the same people coach wrestling and track and some subject in school. Mr. Carnes, on top of that, drove the bus. So even if you weren't playing a sport that he was coaching, he was somehow involved with it. Mr. Carnes was awesome. And then Jeremy was a little bit older than me. He placed in state. He was like,
that was my weight, but 1A.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he a lot of the same guys.
He's got some kids getting to the age of about wrestling, so I think he'll be starting getting involved. I think Audubon, they've got a lot of potential in their youth because of the right people's getting their kids about that age.
It's the perfect storm.
It is. We kind of went through a little bit of a slump here with the program, but gosh, I think that give Audubon 4 or 5 years, and they're going to be somebody that's you're not
just as long as they don't transfer out. Like, it seems like and the best way to get them to not transfer out is to just make sure that you're getting good guys in the room to where they don't want to get away from you.
That's the biggest thing. Man, yeah, it's tough. I don't know what the right thing is with those things. You even see it here where I'm at that other coaches try to pull athletes and because they want to coach good athletes and pulling them into different programs, if they get them when they're youth and trying to get them to move there and everything like that. But it's exactly what you're saying. You gotta produce partners. You gotta produce the right environment to keep them there, to keep them passionate, to keep them involved with the sport.
Right. Do you know who Audubon's first state champ was?
Audubon's, I do. So there was I don't know if he was the first state champ, but Al Borkowski was he was one of the first state champs, and then he ended up going up to Sergeant Bluff up there and ended up really helping that program become what it is today.
Nice.
They're a tough program. And then I want to say there was a couple of Nelson guys that may have been state champs. I think
there's a Monty Andreessen in the '80s placed third.
Yep. So Andreessen. It's kind of like what I was talking about, generational. There were some Andreessen kids that came just after me that were tough, and there's a lot of that. You'll see a family lineage that get their kids in there and be tough. But Audubon definitely has had some tough kids throughout for sure.
Good football teams too.
Yep. Real good.
Did they win state? Like what was it? Did they win state this last year?
They lost to Don Bosco a couple years ago. Like right when. So did Don Bosco not have a football team for a while? Or something?
Oh, I don't know about that. I think they were in like what do they call it, 8-man or something?
Yeah. So they just dropped 8-man is what they were, but it was one of their first ones where they came in and they ended up beating the Audubon team in the state finals. The
guy that Gabe Pauley beat in the finals, Tommy Even, dynamite football player for Bosco. I want to say he was first team All-State 3 years of high school. That was a large reason. I mean, the whole team, of course, but man, you got a guy like Tommy Even going out there looking like Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
And like running a, he's a state track runner as well, Good luck tackling that big dude, that big fast dude.
Yeah, that's crazy.
An 8-man.
Yeah. Speaking about athletes, man, it's been crazy to watch the kid from Iowa City, Ben Keeter. Yeah, I hope that he does well in both sports, but hopefully he's not too good in football where they keep him around there.
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
People ask me about the Iowa hockey room all the time because I got a brother in there, and I never know really what to tell them because I go out of my way to simply just not really. Yeah. I don't never ask Brennan about that stuff because it puts him in a bad situation. Yeah. But I'll ask him like the silly stuff like, hey, what do you think of this guy? Like, he cool? Mentioned Ben Keat. I got a sibling fight up there. My daughters are fighting, but I asked Brennan. I was like, hey, how you like that Ben Keeter kid? He's pretty good, isn't he? He's just like, dude, I freaking love that kid. Not that that's any inside info, but I just thought it was cool to hear the confirmation that that he's a cool guy, because Brennan typically has pretty good judgment and character. I mean, if he says a person's a cool guy, it's usually because they are. That says that he just loves having him in the room, and everybody's he's one of the best ever. I don't really like the GOAT. I write a GOAT series, which doesn't make sense, but I don't really like the debate because how can we compare a guy like Ben Keeter to a guy that was 103 to 112 his entire career? Yeah, it's two different sports.
You can't. No, but what that does is it brings back the conversations about all the awesome stuff. When you were talking about, one of the coolest articles you wrote, right, was the one about Bryce Carruthers, right? How he beat, and so Hunter Carruthers, Bryce was my teammate growing up, right? I was out of the Panthers, and Bryce was 2 years older than me. But Hunter, his younger brother, who didn't quite get the accolades that Bryce did, but was in there. And those guys were, they're great to be around. They were awesome.
And Bryce is doing some officiating now.
Yep.
Yeah.
He might not like this story, but I when I was like third grade, I learned how to do a spladle, right? And before the small town local tournaments, right, you would all your buddies would go around, you'd mess around and you'd warm up and you'd wrestle and you'd play whatever, slap back and do whatever, right? And I was wrestling around with Hunter, and then Bryce needed a partner, so he jumped in and was rolling around with me. And it was like the second day I knew the move, and I spladled Bryce, and I held him there until this was a kid that already won Tulsa.
Yeah.
Won things.
He was like, as a youth wrestler, he was great in high school, but as a youth wrestler,
Yeah.
like he was a huge deal. I say he
Oh,
won at least four state titles.
he was crazy good. He was
He beat
super.
Mac Ryder the one year that Mac Ryder didn't win it,
Mm-hmm.
and he was younger
Yeah.
than Mac.
Yep. Kid was great. Still is great. But I remember I caught him there and I held him there like as long as I could. Because you're in a spladle, like that's not an easy move to get out, even as a little kid.
Yeah,
But
it's not. I've been in one.
I think I hid from him the entire tournament after that because like, what do you do?
The thing is, though, it's like really nice guy. You know, good thing for you.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, great.
How did you feel out those spladles, man? I've never been able to get one of those. Like,
just
not even in drilling them.
well, I saw your little highlight video. It's because you always like the what I call Merkle now. I don't know what you called it.
Oh yeah, I love the Merkle.
I mean,
I hit that 100 times.
It's because you're in the same position, but since you're comfortable going up to the neck,
looking for something else.
Yeah, you don't want to reach because in order to do that, you kind of have to like bring your hips really high, and then arch under the far leg. You know what I'm talking about, right? You kind of put ribs on top of their head to hold them down. And if you like the Merkle, like you're never going to put yourself in a situation where you're vulnerable there when you can just go to an easy takedown.
Right. The Merkle for me, it seemed like it was always good for at least 2 near falls because they'd fall for the first one, but like they weren't even able to figure out what was going on with them if they hadn't seen it before. And as they were sitting there thinking, "What the hell?" You hit another one on them. You know, and it was always like a 6-point near fall for me. I hit that move and probably the cradle more than I did. And I scored almost all of my points on top. Like, you know, and that's why I hate it when people are hard on top work and writing these days, saying that it's boring wrestling. It's not boring wrestling if you got a guy that's literally and genuinely trying to turn or pin the guy, you know, and succeed with it. It is boring if somebody uses the top position to just coast it out, you know, and eat the clock and put in a leg and act like you're working something, but really you're just trying to stall out. It is boring to watch that stuff. You can stall on top, but to say that it's boring, I mean, have these guys watched a person like Jeff McGinnis, who's like, like a phenom on top that can, you know, that's not boring to watch.
I loved leg riding when I was growing up. That was like my thing, and it was exciting when I was doing it to try to like control someone, and you know they roll, you roll, you're going with them, and eventually you get into a point where you can force your dominance onto them, and that's an exciting thing. But for someone that can't, it's not as flashy and exciting as the takedowns are. So it is kind of difficult to watch for a fan that isn't highly knowledgeable about the sport.
Think about leg riding. I like riding legs too. The leg riders that drive me nuts are the guys that just put a leg in and try and power half and nothing else the entire time. And it does look like they're stalling with just that. I always try to like put a leg in, try for a Turk. If they don't, and if they try countering that, try and chin wrench them and go with their momentum. If they don't fall for that, you can work your power half. You can do so many things to get them out of position and take advantage for their, their little blips that they have. But the leg riding can be a beautiful thing if utilized by somebody that genuinely wants to turn or pin the guy with.
Well, I always cradled people because I would get off to the side and I'd put a. Now I like to do kind of like short legs because I know more from it. But at that time it was always that cross body ride, and I put my leg back, and then you'd leave that leg open, so they would be like, "Oh, there's no weight here. Let me stand up," and I cradled like. I mean, that was my main go-to. Just
me too. Love cradles. Cradles and Merkles, man. I don't know which one I use more.
I was definitely not a Merkle guy, but it's fun to.
Yeah. Well, if you're a spladle guy, I don't have any idea how people even feel that out.
I wouldn't say I was a spladle guy. I think it was just more of like that was the cool move that I learned. I actually got spladled, and then after the match, my dad talked to the other dad and was like, "Hey, can your son show me what happened here?"
Yeah. Yeah, I
Right.
never got spladled until my sophomore year in college. I went up against this dude from William Penn. He's a national champ in NAIA.
Yep.
This is just a big, strong 174 pounder, and I took a shot right off the whistle. One of these guys, like right when the whistle blows, I'm trying to. I was on my back in like the first 2 seconds of the match in a spladle. Never,
Yeah.
never been in one in practice. That
Uh-huh.
was the first, and I wasn't sure what to do to get off my back. All I could tell was that if I didn't figure something out quick, this dude was going to pin me in 5 seconds. And the only guy that had pinned me in the first period before that was Corey Connell in 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want that to happen in college. I didn't want to get pinned in 5 seconds. Somehow I got my shoulder up, and he proceeded to just not beat the crap out of me, I guess. But yeah, that was a spladle. I spent the remainder of the match sitting there thinking, I can't believe I just got spladled. Trying to wrestle, and that's all I can think about.
I mean, I'm a big believer that any move hit at the right time with the right intensity is gonna work. But if Brent Metcalf can be spladled, I'm pretty sure that most people can be spladled.
Yeah.
Done correctly. That's crazy.
Well, hey man, I've got two
I got
fighting
it.
daughters upstairs. My daughters are getting in an argument over food upstairs. I can hear them. I need to get them to bed. But man, when you're hanging with Kothi, hit me up. Maybe we can go fishing or something.
Yeah, definitely. I'll let you know. So we'll see.
Right on.
And
Well,
we'll
cool.
hit it up.
Nice to meet you again, and hopefully I can get you on the show again. This has been a lot of fun.
Definitely. I could talk wrestling for.
I could tell. And
Right.
for a stats guy,
Yep.
yeah, for sure, man. Well, thanks a ton, man, and thanks for the support, and thanks for following. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. Have a great evening.
Yep, you too.